We'll give nursing advice for tacos. Isn't this shirt just precious? Hey everyone, my name is Kristen and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm currently in my 4th and final semester of nursing school. Now, I recently asked y'all what video you wanted to see next on my channel, and an updated study video won. So that is what I'm going to be showing you today, how I study currently for my classes right now. So if you are interested in this video, just go ahead and keep watching. I just have to point out real fast, I got this new shirt. Isn't it the most precious thing? It says, "We'll give nursing advice for tacos." Now, this shirt was actually sent to me from Picmonic. Thank you so much for sending me this shirt. Today, I will be collaborating with Picmonic, so I will go ahead and go in depth on what Picmonic is in a minute. How am I studying for nursing school right now? When it comes to studying for nursing school, I can tell you that my study habits haven't changed too much, although I have made some tweaks here and there. So I definitely want to talk about that and discuss my updated study routine. Now, the way that I'm going to set up this video is talk about what I do before class, talk about what I do during lecture, and then of course talk about what I do after class. Now, I do just want to say that you will notice that my notes aren't as lengthy or as wordy as they used to be. I feel like at the beginning of my nursing program, I used to write everything down. I try to make sure that I had all the information I thought I possibly needed. Well, let me tell you, the more concise, easy to read your notes can be, I've learned it makes it a little bit easier for me to study my notes that way. And you will see here and there that I do like to put information that I'm not tested on, and it's just so I can understand that concept I'm studying a little bit better. And when it comes to after class, I will actually be walking you guys through step by step how I make one of my study guides. I do have a test coming up in a little over a week, so I do have to finish my study guide that I'm currently working on so you can see what I have done so far, and then I can show you currently what I'm working on and how to create a study guide step by step. So if you want to go ahead to skip straight to that part, I will just leave a timestamp down below. So if you are ready to learn what my updated study routine is, let's go ahead and get started to what I do before class. Now, when it comes to before class, I do have to be completely honest with y'all. I actually still don't read my med-surg book. My professor in my new med-surg 2 class reads straight from the book, so I stopped reading, and she doesn't really cover a good half of that material anyway. I really like to get most of my information from the lecture and then once again the ATI book. I keep talking about this ATI series. I'm so grateful that my school has provided it for me. It just is a great shortened version of everything you need to know, and it's so easy to understand. The book is actually organized by each body system, and then it goes into each health condition, and it is then separated by the nursing process. I love to format my notes in the nursing process, so reading this ATI book before I actually even get started on my notes just sets me up for having a good foundation when it comes to actually note taking. I have been asked that question before on if you can do well in a class without having to read the textbook. I honestly feel like you should make your own decision on if you feel like you need to read the textbook or not, because I know students in my program that have to read the textbook and they've done really well in the class, and I also know students that don't read the textbook and they've also done very well. So just take a minute to learn what your learning style is, and if you feel like reading the book is necessary for you, then I would absolutely recommend it. When it comes to learning the information, if you are one of those individuals that doesn't like reading from your textbook, that is completely okay. If you are looking for a resource to use for nursing school other than your textbook, well, I have a great resource I'm about to discuss, and that is Picmonic. So what is Picmonic? Picmonic is a study resource that you can use throughout nursing school, and they take the most difficult information and put it into an easy study tool that you can use to memorize the information. They use characters, little cartoons, and then they create a story out of that most difficult information. I think it's so creative the way they are teaching this information, especially when nursing school information, it can be very difficult to grasp. If you are a visual learner or just looking for a new way to study in nursing school because maybe your current study style is not working for you, I highly recommend checking out Picmonic and what they have to offer. And if you happen to like the services, feel free to sign up using my link down below in the description box. You'll get 20% off. This shirt is super comfortable. I've been lounging in it all day. I actually have it tied in a little knot. I like to get my t-shirts just a little bit baggy, so I highly recommend you check out their shirts too. Super comfortable. The thing that has changed a little bit when it comes to taking notes before class, I really don't take that many notes anymore. My professor does a great job with putting a lot of information on her PowerPoint slides. So when I'm reading the ATI book, I kind of follow her PowerPoint before I go to class just to see what's on there and to get a good idea of what is going to be covered in class that day. And I really just wait to take notes until after I listen to the lecture one time through. I feel like that's actually been really helping me, because before I noticed that I was writing things down that my professor never talked about. I would just load my paper full of information that was never ever discussed, and I thought it was still gonna be on the exam. So now I really try to tailor my notes to what the lecture looks like, because I feel like I'm getting all the important information that's going to be on my exam, and I'm actually able to keep my notes a little bit less dense than they used to be, which then makes it more manageable for me to go through and study them. Now, I'm actually going to be signing into class very soon, so you can watch exactly what I do during my class time. I am just getting all signed into class. I decided to take some time before my lecture to read the pneumonia section of my ATI book, and then I already have my PowerPoint all pulled up ready for my lecture. I am currently just listening to the lecture. I do jot things down here and there when I feel like I need to, but I do try my best to make sure that I do just listen to the lecture one time through, and then I will go back after class and re-listen to the lecture, and this is when I take more notes. Now, after class, mainly what I do is I will go back and re-listen to the lecture for a second time. This is where I'm now starting to note take on any information that didn't make it on the PowerPoint slides, or if my professor talks about an example in class, I love to write those down, because I've noticed that sometimes those scenarios end up on the exam, and my professor will hint a second, a third, a fourth time whenever there's important information being said, and so I tend to write down that information as well. So mainly what I'm looking for are those keywords or any changes in my professor's voice, and then making sure I write down any notes that maybe didn't make it on the PowerPoint. So one thing that I have taken out of my normal routine is actually handwriting my notes. I honestly don't know why I really haven't been handwriting my notes lately. I think half the reason I kind of stopped handwriting my notes going into my second exam is just because I realized that I could make charts a lot more legible in my Microsoft Word, and I'm able to put little pictures and diagrams. Like, I made a chart for dysrhythmias, cardiomyopathies, and I really like to incorporate photos, and I'm not the best at drawing. So I really just have been utilizing my laptop this semester to really just type up all my notes. I do have the extra free time to be able to handwrite my notes, but I've really been liking the way that my notes and my study guides have been turning out this semester. So I think for the rest of the semester, I'm just going to just type up my notes and leave it at that, because it's been super helpful for me. I've actually saved a lot of time on my notes. Now, when it comes to a study guide, my professor posts a blueprint which just talks about how many questions are in each topic, and it kind of goes into the most important information you need to know. The blueprints that my professors have given me in the past have never been really helpful, other than me just knowing the amount of questions that I'm going to be asked on each section. I really do like to take that blueprint and use that as my basis for my study guide. And my professor usually gives these out about a week or two before the next exam. So let's head on over to my computer and I can show you step by step how I create my study guide. This is currently what my exam 3 study guide looks like. I do like to make sure that I put the blueprint right on the first page, just so I have a good idea of what the breakdown of my exam is going to be. And now I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down so you can get a general overview of what my outline study guide looks like. You will see that any words that are highlighted in gray, bolded, and underlined are going to be new PowerPoint sets. I like to be able to distinguish between the different PowerPoints, and this is the best way that works for me. Now, as I continue scrolling down, I do just want to point out that all the bolded words are going to be the nursing process. So this could include like a background, ideology, pathophysiology, assessment, diagnosis, any kind of interprofessional care. I like to make sure that all of those specific words are bolded just so they can stand out. If you see any words that are underlined, most likely those are going to be new healthcare conditions within the same slide set. It's just the easiest way I can distinguish between two different health conditions that are within the same PowerPoint. Now, if you do see any words that are italicized, I do like to italicize words when I'm distinguishing different types of a specific health condition. Just a couple of examples, I did italicize the different types of trauma and the different types of pneumothorax. Now, I will also sometimes put this information into a chart. Just to give you an idea, this is a chart that I made for cardiomyopathy. Now, like I said, when you see a word that is highlighted in gray, bolded and underlined, I've now hit a new PowerPoint slide set. So I do follow the outline method. Like I mentioned earlier, the outline method just works for me. In a case like this, there can be a lot of dead space on the page. If you're really good at working with tables and you want to have 2 columns on the page, I would highly recommend to do that, because sometimes this outline method can leave a little bit of white space on my paper. I do just have my outline continuing down on the bottom of the page. So now that I went through an overview of my study guide, I'm going to go ahead and just start filling in the rest of my study guide. So I do just always like to have my screen on a split screen view, where I have my study guide on one side and then my PowerPoint on another side. So you can see I'm working on a whole new slide set. This is pneumonia and atelectasis. I went ahead and I already highlighted, bolded, and underlined the new slide set. And I also underlined atelectasis, so I'm able to distinguish between the information for atelectasis and pneumonia. Now, I am just going in and copying and pasting my PowerPoints because I love to use this as a good base. I always found that even if my professors did not give me a study guide, or if we were just provided a blueprint, using the PowerPoints as my base for my study guide has always been helpful for all my classes. Once I'm done going in and copying and pasting each section, and really just taking this time to format my notes, which you will see me doing a lot of during this time, I then go back and re-listen to the lecture. And this is the point where I go in and fill any other necessary information that I feel like I need to go ahead and add to my study guide at this point in time. After I feel like my notes are completed, I do like to just go right back to my ATI book just to double check that I have everything that I need already in my study guide. And if I don't, I do like to jot down some notes specifically from my ATI book. Now, we all know I love to have my study guides done a week before the exam, and then after that, all I'm doing is studying my study guide and then doing practice questions. I do like to break up my study guide in chunks. It could vary in the number of pages, but I do like to section out an amount of pages that I'm going to be studying each day, and then just doing as many practice questions as I can find. I highly recommend starting practice questions early. It's so important to do these practice questions. Remember how I discussed Picmonic a little bit earlier in this video? I do just also want to add in that Picmonic does have quizzes that goes along with the material that you're currently studying, and they also do have daily quizzes you can work on as well. Now, this is great to know because this is just an extra resource you can use for practice questions, and y'all know how important I think practice questions are. Now, that is all that I have for you in today's video. If you liked the video, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and of course, subscribe to the channel and join the Facebook community if you would like. And I always just want to wish you luck on your nursing journey.